Perfect square trinomial notes. So notice our first expression is x squared plus 2x plus 1. We want to factor this expression. So we set up the diamond problem, put the third number on top, the middle number on the bottom, and we're trying to think of two numbers that when I add them together I get 2, but when I multiply them together I get 1. So obviously 1 and 1 would work. 1 times 1 is 1, 1 plus 1 is 2. So the factors would be x plus 1 times x plus 1. But if you notice, these two expressions are exactly the same. Think about when I have two of exactly the same numbers, like 5 times 5. That can be written as 5 squared. So this expression, x plus 1 times x plus 1, can be written more simply as x plus 1 squared. This is always the case with a perfect square trinomial. And it just means that the factors of this are the same thing, so I can write it as this squared. Let's try another example. X squared plus 4x plus 4. I set up the factors. This 4 goes here, this 4 goes here. Think of two numbers that multiply to be 4 and add to be 4. It's pretty easy. It's 2 and 2. So it's x plus 2 are the factors. And of course, since they're the same, I can rewrite it as x plus 2 squared. So that is the goal today, to take a perfect square trinomial and write it as one factor squared. Here's another one. I take the 9 and put it on top. I take the 6 and put it on the bottom. Two numbers that multiply to be 9 and add to be 6. Well, 3 times 3 is 9, and 3 plus 3 is 6. So the factors are x plus 3, which of course I can write as x plus 3 squared. Now, the last example, I have x squared plus 8x plus 16. So I can write that as two factors that multiply to be 16 and add to be 8. So obviously 4 and 4 are the answers. So it's x plus 4 times x plus 4 are the factors. But I can write it as a perfect square trinomial and say x plus 4 squared. We're going to add one more example to this page. And that is this. X squared minus 10x plus 25 is 0. Now, I want to factor this, so I put 25 here and negative 10 here. Two numbers that multiply to be 25, but add to be negative 10. Well, if two numbers are going to multiply to be negative 25, or to be positive 25, they either both have to be positive or they both have to be negative. And since they have to add up to negative 10, that means that both numbers will have to be negative. So negative 5 and negative 5 work, because negative 5 plus negative 5 is negative 10, and negative 5 times negative 5 is 25. So my factors are x minus 5, and since they're the same, I can write them as x minus 5 squared. Now, the other half of today's homework assignment is that you are going to make your own perfect square trinomials, which means we're going to figure out how to turn this into something that looks like this. So I'm going to try to make this, I'm going to add a number to this expression so that when it factors, I get two of the same factors. It's a very easy process. Take the middle number, divide it by 2. Square it. That is the number that if I added it to this expression would make it a perfect square trinomial. So now I have x squared plus 6x plus 9. To factor it, I'd put 9 up here, 6 here. The numbers are 3 and 3. So it turns into x plus 3, which can be simplified as x plus 3 squared. So take the number with next to the x, cut it in half. Take that answer and square it. that is the number that I would add to this expression to make it a perfect square trinomial, which means when I factor it, I'll get the same factors, and I can write it as the factors squared. So it's very easy. Take 22, cut it in half, take whatever half is and square it. It's 121. That is the number that if I add it to the end of this equation, it turns this into a perfect square trinomial. So now when I factor it, put 121 here, 22 here, it's 11 and 11. 11 plus 11 is 22, 11 times 11 is 121. So the factors are x plus 11 can be written as x plus 11 squared. So you have to get it down to this answer at the end. If the number next to x is negative, you still treat it the same way. Take that middle number, write it down, divide it in half. That's negative 4. Square negative 4, which means negative 4 times negative 4, which is positive 16. No matter what, when you square a number, it always turns out positive, even if it starts out as negative. So I'm going to add 16 to this equation, making it a perfect square trinomial. I'm going to rewrite it over here. So now we set the diamond up, 16 on top, negative 8 on the bottom. So again, if the two numbers I'm choosing have to add up to negative 8 and multiply to 16, it means they both have to be negative. So negative 4 and negative 4. So this factors to x minus 4 times x minus 4, which turns into x minus 4 squared. Now, you're going to need this skill tomorrow when we use this to solve equations. This will just be one part of the process. So take negative 10, write it down, divide it in half. It's negative 5. Square it. It automatically turns positive 25. So that's what I would add to this to make it a perfect square trinomial. Make your diamond, 25 on top, negative 10 on the bottom. This is actually the problem that we did on the front. So it turns into x minus 5 times x minus 5, which is x minus 5 squared. So now you should move on and try the homework assignment.